Can you please tell us in a nutshell what Bill C-10 is? Let's assume that there are people that understand or don't know about the bill.
Yeah, so what happened when the bill got to what they call committee? So a bill in Canada is proposed by the government, then it goes to each individual committee, whether or not that be transportation or military. In this case, it's heritage, which runs the broadcasting bill. The government removed both 2.2 and 4.1, which means that all user-generated content on any platform, actually any audio video content anywhere, would fall under regulation of the CRTC.
So yeah, I'm just gonna we're gonna talk today about Bill C-10 and why this bill is important for creators in Canada and how it can affect creators in this beautiful country. My name is Serhiy Sriyenko. I'm business development at AIR Creators Ecosystem Canada. We help creators to grow and monetize their content on YouTube, other platforms, and beyond. And let me say a few words about the AIR Creators Ecosystem. We are an international media tech company that was founded in Canada and operates globally. We have offices in 4 countries: Canada, the United Arab Emirates, Russia, and Ukraine. We help more than 3,000 YouTube channels to grow and monetize their content. Some of our top channels are Kiss Diana Show, Vlada Nikki, Lady Diana, Mr. Gear, and other fantastic creators. Today we have a very special guest, Scott Benzie, CEO of Buffer Festival, the largest festival for creators in Canada. Scott is an expert in many aspects of creators economy, and he has been in this business for a long time. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, he spent a lot of time studying the bill and representing Canadian creators before Canadian government. So, and this part of the meetup, I will be asking Scott some important questions about the bill, and the second part, people who will join and people who hear will have opportunity to ask their own questions. So if you have questions, you can raise your hand during the conversation, and we will let you to ask the question. Okay, hey Scott, it's great to have you here. Thank you for finding time to be with us today.
Not a problem. It's important. I'm happy to talk about it.
Yeah. Before we begin our questions, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about the Buffer Festival, Buffer Initiative, and other things that you do?
Yeah, sure. So, I'll keep it brief. My name is Scott Benzie. I am the CEO of Buffer Festival, which is started out as a film festival for creators, in-person film festival, but it's kind of morphed into, a celebration of all things digital content and all things digital creators. We're in our 9th year now. We've expanded to London, England this year, which is exciting. But during that time, we found over the last few years that nobody was really speaking up for digital creators' rights at all. So we've kind of taken a position with the government speaking for digital creators and on their behalf. I always like to say you can't speak on all digital creators' behalf because, it's so diverse and it's so dynamic, but there are certain truths and certain things that are consistent across the board. And we like to make sure that they are brought up to the table. I do have a history in traditional broadcast, which is where, kind of how I got into this world. So I understand both sides of what's going on right now fairly well. And there are some, I'll say this, that creators historically haven't really been organized because by nature, they haven't really needed any help to do their work. But what's happening now in the government could absolutely have a negative effect. So we're happy to be at the table to have these conversations.
Great. Thank you, Scott. So let's roll with the main topic of our meetup today. Can you please tell us in a nutshell what Bill C-10 is? Let's assume that there are people that understand or don't know about the bill.
Sure. So what the bill is it's how it started was an update of the Canadian Broadcasting Act, which I think everybody can agree should be and needs to be updated, with the idea, the platform being of the idea that big streamers would have to pay into the system in Canada, which is the CMF. So that's the Netflix, the Primes, Disney Plus, all the big streamers that actually also do what we would consider traditional content. So that, that's the crux of what how the bill was written and what it was intended to do. before it got to the floor. And I don't want to jump on your next questions. I can just go on and rant, but I'll let you interject if you want to get to the next one. I think you're muted, Siri. Can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So
all good.
Here we go again. Yeah. So why this bill becomes so controversial?
Yeah. So what happened when the bill got to what they call committee? So a bill in Canada is proposed by the government, then it goes to each individual committee, whether or not that be transportation or military. In this case, it's Heritage, which runs the broadcasting bill. Once the bill got to committee, there are two important clauses that were written into the bill that we helped with some of our work with Heritage. Clause 2.2, which protected user-generated content and excluded it from the bill. And clause 4.1, which excluded platforms from the bill. So those safeguards were put in place to protect user-generated content. But at some point in time, very late in the game, the government removed both 2.2 and 4.1, which means that all user-generated content on any platform, actually any audio video content anywhere, would fall under regulation of the CRTC. And everybody lost their mind. That's crazy. You can't do that. So they decided, okay, we'll put 2.2 back in, which does protect user-generated content. So, a channel by itself would not fall under the regulation of the CRTC. However, they left 4.1 out, which excluded the platform. So while somebody's individual channel, say true crime video channel on YouTube, wouldn't directly fall under the auspice of the CRTC, YouTube does. So what that means is the CRTC can then put regulations and would be given a directive by the government to put regulations in place for them to decide which content YouTube should approve or rise up to the surface or trend or put where they want it to go. So while user-generated content is true, and you hear this a lot from the other side, that 2.2 is in place, user-generated content doesn't fall under the bill. The platforms do. So essentially, what would happen is we have a regulation in this country called CanCon or CAVCO, which is Canadian Content Approved by the government. And what essentially would happen is the government would tell YouTube that they have to prioritize CAVCO or CanCon content over private individual channels or other business channels, for that matter. So they would have to give them preferential treatments in the algorithm based on what the CRTC decided the viewer wants, and not what the viewer wants itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting. So is there like a threat for the average Canadian creator in this
Yeah, absolutely.
area?
Absolutely. So if you have a channel that you send out and, and your viewers see, and you can kind of track, and, I like to say that creators kind of made a bargain with YouTube. We understand how it works, or TikTok or Snapchat for that matter. You understand how it works and you try to work within that system. This adds an additional layer of trying to understand how something works. So the CRTC will then take a list of approved content, CanCon content, and say, okay, well, this should get prioritized because it's Canadian. So they deem and determine what is Canadian. So what you're going to see is a lot of the big channels like the CBCs, the Marble Medias, the people who already have broadcast agreements and are already considered CanCon will get preferential treatment over the average Canadian.
So they will have like an additional boost for their content to be promoted, or
yeah, well, I mean, we all know how this thing works, right? If you want to prioritize somebody else's content, you're actually going to deprioritize somebody else's content. It's not a binary where you can say, oh, we're going to promote this one and everybody else is going to be fine. That's not the way it works. If, for example, let's use true crime again because it's topical. The CBC has a true crime podcast. They have a lot, actually. What the government would mandate YouTube or TikTok or Audible or name your platform do is to prioritize that Canadian approved content over an individual's content. And the counter argument to that is, well, then just get CanCon approved. But you can't, because the rules are set up in place where individuals can't really get CanCon approved. One, you have to be incorporated. You'd have to do a submission for every piece of content you put out. So if you're putting something out every day, that just doesn't make any sense. So one of the other things that has to happen in all of this is the CanCon rules, kind of need to change. There's there's a real disconnect, I think, between what the Canadian government thinks people want to see and what people want to see. The metrics are really easy to look at. I always like to say, if Canada's most popular photographer is Peter McKinnon. He's a YouTuber. Canada's most popular musicians have all come from the platforms. And what's happened is, the traditional lobbies, so the ACTRAs, the Directors Guilds, SOCAN, all the, the private interest Quebec lobbies are annoyed by this fact. They can't compete on content alone. So they want to rig the system so that, their content gets prioritized. And they've come out and said as much, that this is a problem. So therein lies the rub. If you allow, if we allow C-10 to go through as it is, the CRTC is going to have a mandate to deprioritize Canadian content creators.
So in terms of regular Canadian creator, would they need to provide or create Canadian approved content or something to be promoted, or
Yeah, so the CanCon rules as they exist today, in order to be CanCon certified, it's the content that is certified, not the creator. So if you're creating a short film or a series, that all has to be sent in for approval by the CRTC, and it has to be approved, and you have to be incorporated. It actually doesn't matter what the content is. Just that it's Canadian owned. So there's CanCon is really funny, because if you let's take a look at The Handmaid's Tale. Okay. So I'm digressing a little bit away from C-10 for a second, but The Handmaid's Tale is written by a Canadian. It is shot here in Toronto. It is staffed by all Canadians, and is acted by a bunch of Canadians. It's the most Canadian story you can get. It's not CanCon. Because the IP is not owned by a Canadian. So, whereas Vikings, which is a co-pro between a Canadian studio and an Irish studio, I think, is CanCon. Not shot here, not worked on by Canadians. It is considered CanCon. So, the CanCon rules need to change, but essentially, there are no individual creators in Canada that would be considered CanCon out of the gate. Zero.
That's interesting. So what impact can it have on creators' monetization, in your opinion?
Well, we don't know what the end game is. We don't know what the effects are, and that's part of the challenge. When the government, put this bill in place, they had heard from all the witnesses. They had done all their, requests for papers and their due diligence, and then they took 4.1 out. Then they changed the entire bill and didn't hear from us at all. I asked, right? They didn't hear from us at all. They didn't hear from any digital first creators at all on what.
So there was no consultation, no nothing with.
No, because the consultation all happened pre the removal of 4.1. So no, I didn't care. You want to make Netflix pay into the CMF? There's an argument for that. Should Prime pay into the CMF? There's an argument for that. But once you removed 4.1 and the conversation shifted, and there was conversations out of some of the politicians, this will open the doors for other people to be successful on YouTube. And that's just not how it works. You can't have a government mandate what content is successful on an open platform. That doesn't do anybody any good. And I don't think creators here in Canada, we have this weird, we have this weird feeling of inferiority that we go through in traditional media, where, they're talking about our show. Schitt's Creek did great, right? We still talk about Schitt's Creek.
Do you consider that as a Canadian?
That is, Schitt's Creek is CanCon, and a great success story, and a wonderful success story. But let's take every viewer who has ever watched Schitt's Creek, and then you look at a channel like Super Simple Songs or Watch Mojo, both great Canadian channels. They dwarf the audience of Schitt's Creek 1 million times, and then twice on Sunday. It's not even close. So we celebrate these small wins where we get external kudos, while we have all these digital creators that are punching up in Canada. We probably per capita lead the world in large successful channels. And the government now just wants to crap on them because they don't have their slice of the pie. They basically want to be rewarded for other people's work, which is a real problem.
And anything we can do, like creator can do right now to make any changes to the bill? Like, I know it's not passed yet, right? It's not in the Senate yet, right? They right. Just so they paused it before the election. Now,
yeah. So what's going to happen now, to the best of our knowledge, anyway, is C-10, as it was, died in the Senate when they called the election. Thankfully, there were some brave senators who stood up and say, we're not just going to rush this through. It's going to take some work. So the bill will have to be reintroduced. It will be fast tracked, and I think it will look the same. We don't even know at this point who the new heritage minister is going to be, whether or not it'll be Guilbeault again or somebody else. But the short answer is the government has said the bill is coming back in the first 100 days.
But in what capacity it will come back?
It will have to go back. It'll have to go back through committee again, but it will be fast tracked through committee and then to the Senate. But there is an opportunity for sure to have our voices heard this time in committee. Parts of the government who oppose the bill have been very accommodating and have said they are going to call us as witnesses. But there's a challenge here in Canada where Canadian voices are not organized. Because they've never had to be, and that's fair. So, we are starting an organization called Digital First Canada with some of our partners, where we will be bringing interested creators together and creating this new board, this new organization that will be made official to fight on creators' behalf and to fight on digital creators' best interests. With the government, understanding that, again, you can't just paint every creator the same way because the platforms are all different. But we need to be at the table when the CBC or Chorus or Bell or Rogers or the Quebec groups are helping formulate this legislation. So we're starting a group called Digital First Canada. Everybody can feel free to email me. It's scott@bufferfestival.com if you'd like to get involved. And we're going to be kicking it off in the next few weeks here. And we're going to have an event, hopefully before Christmas, where we have these conversations with the platforms themselves as well and say, listen, guys, this is a problem and we all need to be on the same page about it. I think, the other issue here and the other thing that this has brought to the forefront is, there's an argument to be made that the platform should be taxed more and pay into the system more. So, Guilbeault ran out this number of $720 million a month we lose from the platforms while this bill's not passed, which is insane. It's not true. It's crazy. But there's something to be said that if the platforms are going to be paying into the system needs to be set up to reward those people that work on the platforms. So we're really passionate about, if YouTube, TikTok, Snap, Facebook, et cetera, are going to be paying into a system, that system has to be set up to allow the people who use that platform to receive the money, not have the money funnel back into ACTRA and the Writers Guild. Why should YouTube and Facebook and TikTok be financing their competition? The money should be going to creators who use the platform of all different shapes and sizes. So we want to make sure that there's a place and a voice that has that happen as well. Because the system as it's set up now, like the CMF as it's set up now, the Canadian Media Fund, independent creators have no access to that money. They can try, but without a broadcasting deal, they're not going to get it. Even though, those organizations have tried to involve digital first creators, they just don't. It's not set up that way. The credits aren't set up that way. So there needs to be a place to make sure that any inputs from those platforms go back to the users who use those platforms aside from C-10. So we're fighting to have that conversation as well.
Fantastic. What do you think, in your opinion, what options Canadian creators have if, in case the bill passed as it is right now, like as it was before, without any amendments or any changes?
Yeah. So what's going to happen? Let's assume worst case scenario, the bill passes as it was before. That bill is basically just a guideline that the CRTC has to follow. So it's a mandate for the CRTC. Now, the CRTC is made up of a bunch of people that do not understand the digital space at all. So, you know, should the bill pass, we still need to be organized and we still need to be allowed to have these conversations at a CRTC level to help them understand what they're doing to the digital economy in Canada. You know, there's a giant misconception out there as well that, you know, we're only talking about small individual digital first creators being affected. We're not. We're talking about very large companies and organizations that will no longer be able to export and be seen globally. You know, the other crux and the other counterpoint of the whole thing is, how can we expect? So the whole purpose of the bill, and I kind of skipped over because it doesn't matter, other than the inputs, is we want to promote Canadian content, right? That's what they said.
How you can promote it if you want to be isolated?
Well, because they want to promote Canadian content to Canadians, which I don't know any creator that actually cares that much about that, because we're a global, you know, we're a global content economy, but we can't have that, you know, we can't have that infrastructure here in Canada and then expect fair and equal treatment abroad. Canada is such a small piece of the pie for most creators that they don't worry about it, right? You know, you want to make sure you tap that American or that UK or that overseas market. For a lot of Quebec creators, you know, Montreal and Quebec is half of their content. The other half's in France, right? So if Canada does this and then the US goes, okay, we'll do it too. Bye-bye Canadian channels, right? If they start, if the algorithm starts promoting American content to Americans over Canadian content, and, you know, we got a big problem. So all that to say, you know, the long way around that, you know, there's a few things you can do. You can call your local MP. You can tell them, you know, you're affecting my job. You're taking money out of my pocket, not to support the little guy like they framed it as, you know, more money, more creators in the thing. You know, that money is going to go to large unions and large broadcasters. It's not going to go to support Canadian content. Don't kid yourself. So call your MP, get involved with Digital First Canada, and then just be loud. You know, get involved, start educating people, because we haven't, as a community, needed to be involved historically until they went, oh, you guys are being way too successful without us. That's a problem. Let us intervene and make it suck for you. But our lobby groups will be happy, is essentially what's happening.
Let's see. What would you recommend creators to do? Like you said already, like call your MP, but maybe something else. What creator can do to be prepared in case if bill will pass?
Yeah, the truth is we don't know, and we won't know until we find out what the CRTC is going to do with this mandate, right? There are a whole bunch of knock-on effects that could happen. There are things that might not happen. So it's really hard to say, you know, the easy answer is, and the one that'll get me in trouble is, set up a server in the US, find somebody you know that lives in Buffalo, send your content to them and upload it from there. Honestly. That's
just pretend we never heard it.
Right. That's how crazy this bill is. It's going to incentivize Canadians to upload their content from a different place. And then it's so silly. They haven't thought it through and what it actually means. But the larger conversation is, we as a community just need to start speaking up and being loud that we're not excluded from Canadian content. We are Canadian content, and more people watch us than anybody else. I'm using the proverbial us because I don't have a channel and nobody cares what I have to say. But we need to start educating from a creator standpoint. You know, YouTube, for one, and TikTok as well, they do a really good job of sending out these reports and these findings, but they're all very self-serving at the end of the day. You know, creators need to stand up and say, I'm making an income from this. How dare you take it from me and give it to a union?
Yeah. I think Linda has a question.
Wonderful. Hi, Linda.
Hello. So this is interesting you're saying this. I'm just looking at my analytics from my channel that I run on YouTube, and 74% of my viewership is from United States, while 5.8% is from Canada. I run a true crime channel. Most of my cases are from the States. However, I do carry some Canadian content. What's interesting here, and you made a couple comments about money. And it's funny because we still do taxes every year and we still submit our taxes. Yet this is very concerning. Right away, I think, how can I best do this? Do I also put my eggs in a different basket with podcasting or something to protect? How do we do that?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. So this isn't just about YouTube. It isn't just about platforms. This bill will affect all audio and video content on the internet. So shifting platforms is irrelevant.
Right. It's just the Canadian itself, the Canadian.
Yeah, actually,
Sorry,
go. No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and there's, you might see, here's the trade-off that you're going to be asked to make, Linda. I think, again, we don't know. You're going to see a raise. You might see a bump in your Canadian viewership. Maybe not, because maybe you won't be considered CanCon.
Right.
But you will definitely, how we all try to game the system and the algorithms a little bit, right? What happens when you no longer have control over that? Great CBC podcast, Someone Knows Something. It's wonderful wonderful true crime podcast. When they take that YouTube content from that and put it above your content within the first 24 hours, you know how that affects the algorithm. It ain't pretty. So there's really nothing that you can do from an infrastructure or how you have your system set up standpoint to prepare for it at this point.
Actually, in the end of our meetup, I will not tell about our services a little bit, how we can help with this, because we have some solutions to diversify your income that you're getting. But I will get to it.
There you go.
In the end,
more income helps. But I just, Linda, your concern is real because you won't be considered CanCon.
Right.
At least not. Sorry, go ahead.
I wouldn't be sending in my content every single day to get approval of what I can say on my own channel. It's not going to happen.
Of course not. And they don't want you to. They don't think you will. So you won't be considered CanCon. So you won't be one of these prioritized channels, which means somebody's leapfrogging over you, which is unfair.
I do see that a little bit anyways with the news because of my genre that I'm in. I do see that with the news taking over right away, and then you kind of squeeze your way in there.
Yep.
But this is a serious concern for sure. I'd be curious to find out, and maybe you guys aren't going to cover that today, but how you mentioned a little bit about servers, like a backup plan. I would do anything to help change that bill. But if it happens where, and I've seen the bill before, is very generic. So it's kind of like, eat your veggies, and you're wondering, like, is that an apple? Is that a banana? Like, what is it? And they can just decide. So that's the concern, it's not specific, leaves us in the dark. But I would be interested both in how to change the bill, but also what the backup plan is.
Yeah. So like you said, it's very vague, and the backup plan will depend on how the CRTC plans on implementing these rules. I can leave it to the team at AIR to have a conversation with you about the kind of services that they can provide. But from a legislation standpoint and how that's going to be affected on YouTube, it really is just too soon to tell.
Okay, thank you.
And it will. Something else I should mention here quickly. There's another piece of legislation that's going to be making its way through the House as well, called online harms. I don't know if you've heard about it, but essentially what it does is it implements a 24-hour takedown rule on the platforms based on people complaining about your content. And that can be as much as a click of a button. So what they want YouTube to do is, this content has been flagged as inappropriate or hate speech or whatever it is. And then it's going to go to YouTube, and they want YouTube to, within 24 hours, make a decision on that content, which is crazy. Can't happen unless, they're going to employ another 1 million people to do it. But the upshot of that is, and we've talked to YouTube about it, is, well, what we'll have to do is just take the content down and ask questions later, which is also just crazy and insane. And that's a separate bill that's making its way through the House right now. And when they come back, and would also affect all platforms equally. So your competition,
Linda, it looks like more threats are coming.
Yeah, well, the competition for a channel could literally just go in and start click, 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 and all of a sudden your channel's gone because YouTube doesn't have a choice because the government has said, 24 hours, take it down, or $1 million. I'm using that number arbitrarily, by the way, in case anybody sees this video. Don't call me out on it.
Linda, do you have any other questions, or anyone else have any questions?
Not for now, thank you. I'm sure I'll have more later.
Yeah, and Linda,
okay,
you can just, I don't know if I have access to the chat here, but let me try. Do I? I don't. You can just, you can email me if you have any questions, scott@bufferfestival.com. I'm pretty easy to find.
All right, thank you.
I think another thing that we can do, we can send like follow-up email with some information, and we'll include your information. If you're okay with this, we can include your information, so people can contact you and ask questions if they have you can organize something together.
Of course, happy to.
Okay. Thank you, Scott,
no worries.
so much. Yeah, that was great. I just want to say something in the end. I want to do, do you see my presentation right now?
Nope. Oh, yep.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to talk about AR Media Tech a little bit.
I will mute myself and allow you to do it.
No, it's okay. You can be there. Do you see the presentation right now?
Yes, I do.
Okay, great. So we are creators ecosystem, and we have more than 30 different products and services that could helpful for creators. Our ecosystem is a one-stop shop for creators, and our goal is to make creators' life easier with our services. So you as a creator can focus on creativity, and we will take care of your needs. In light of this conversation, I'd like to highlight some of our solutions to help creators diversify their content and get additional streams of income with no effort from the creator side. So first, it would be Air Translate. It's for selected creators. We offer a turnkey solution for full translation and localization of content to enter new language markets. With us, you can get your current content translated and fully localized in up to 10 of the most spoken languages in the world. The service includes translation, dubbed by professional narrators who are native speakers, localization, and channel promotion. There is zero investment from the creator side. Another service is Air cross-platform distribution. We can help your content to be distributed and monetized on other platforms. Creators can get extra revenue by distributing their videos on Chinese platforms like Bilibili, Taobao, Hokan Video, and others. Russian platforms like Yandex.Zhen, and so on. Again, with no offer from the creator side. Another solution is Content ID, that we can protect your content and help you to claim it for monetization, so nobody can steal your content, or in case if they do, you can monetize on this content. And game and app development. It's another strong tool for additional income for mature creators with substantial engaged audiences. We develop customized mobile apps and games for you to increase your audience engagement even more and create additional revenue streams. So those are things that we can help with in terms of diversifying your content to other, like putting your eggs in different baskets. That's what you were asking, Linda. Is it right?
Hello?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, that's right. Hi.
Hi, I'm just joining in.
Oh, you're a little bit.
I am late to the party.
Yeah, you're a little bit late to the party. But the good thing that we have this meeting recording. We are recording right now, and if everything will go well, we can send you the conversation that just happened, so you will have access to this conversation later.
Well, while we're here, though, do you have any questions about C10 I can answer? I love your channel, by the way.
Who's that, me?
Yeah, you. I love your channel.
Oh, that's awesome. Yes. Listen, to be honest with you, like I've seen I keep getting messages or emails from Air Media, and I'm like, oh, that looks cool. I like your logo and all that. You know.
No, actually, Scott is from a different company. He representing Buffer Festival. Which is the largest festival for creators in Canada.
Yeah, that's from the Toronto, right? Toronto. Yeah, you know, it's funny though, because when I used to be signed with Much Music, They used to send me there all the time and stuff like that. Scott, we should get in contact actually, man.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you for your contact email. I do want to talk to you about a few things.
Oh yeah. Let's do it. Let's do it, man. I'm all game. I'm all game.
Should I send it to the Gmail account that's on your channel?
Yeah, that's fine. No issues, no problems. And I should be down in Toronto sometimes next month as well too. So if you want to do a link up, I'll be down for that.
Yeah, cool. No, definitely want to talk to you about your channel. You came up in a conversation I was having with Watch Mojo the other day.
Oh, really? That's funny.
In a good way, in a very good way.
In a good way. Okay, that's good. You know, that's what we want. Okay, quick question.
Sari, we're creating Canadian community here. You see this?
That's great. Yeah. That's what actually a very good thing.
That's amazing. I had a quick question. So the Bill 10C, I think that's the one, right?
Yeah.
I had what's going on with that? Because how's that going to affect creators and stuff like that? Is that going to affect us negatively? Is that going to make us, you know what I'm trying to talk about? Like, you know what I'm saying? Because it is a fear for a lot of creators to kind of see things like that happening. Yeah. And I just sort of wanted to know exactly if like how that's going to, you know, affect creators, you know, monetarily and all that, if that's okay. Sorry, Sarai. Is it Sarai? Sorry, because you were talking.
So it's me. That's why. No.
Oh, okay.
You go ahead. Yeah, we're here for you guys for you to ask your questions.
Awesome. The answer to all of your questions is yes. But I'm happy to have. I don't want to go through the whole spiel again. I'll bore everybody else on the call. But I'm happy to have a chat with you after this about it. It's something you should definitely be involved with.
Yeah. Okay.
Especially, you know, a channel like yours. Especially a channel like yours.
Yeah. Okay. I got you.
Yeah, and I was just talking about the things that we as a company can offer for you to diversify your content. Mm-hmm. Like I was saying, to put your eggs in different baskets, so you will get like different revenue streams from different sources. Mm-hmm. In case if something happened, like, because again, we never know what's going to happen with this bill. And in case if it affect your monetization, you can actually gain something else from different sources. Okay. So that was actually what my presentation about. Do you have any like other specific question about the bill maybe to Scott?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, like, how's that, like, exactly what's the are they going to restrict the content from being reached to the American market? Is that what it is? Or is that just going to, and just limiting towards just Canadian, like, target?
So you're right. That's a knock-on effect of what will happen. What the bill, I'll do the 30-second version. Sorry for everybody else. What the bill was intended to do was to upgrade the Broadcasting Act to have like Netflix and Prime pay into CMF, and then have those platforms also promote Canadian content. They removed a clause 4.1, which in the long run means that user-generated content on platforms also falls under that. So what it means essentially is they will be promoting approved Canadian content ahead of your content, both globally and domestically.
Wow.
Yeah. And then there's a bunch of knock-on effects that actually has for you as well. So, you know, you're not going to be approved Canadian content, which is insane. But you'll also won't have access to any of the money or the inputs that are being put into the system. So I was telling everybody, we're putting together a group called Digital First Canada to really go to bat and battle with some of our partners on the bill. Because, you know, one, it's not fair, but two, it will negatively impact your business one way or another.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
It might actually increase your Canadian viewership.
Yeah, but it's like...
And put your American viewership into the tank.
That is insane.
Right. So we're reaching out and we're talking to creators. I'm happy to have a full conversation with you about where the bill is. I know the team at AIR will send this recording over and you can hear me rant about it. What happened, why it happened, and how they quietly tried to pull the wool over everybody's eyes, and how we're not going to let it happen.
Yeah, that's crazy. Wow. I know they've been trying to do weird things like that for years now, and they keep coming back with something new. And it's just, I don't get what was their purpose of it? What did they like think? Why did they come up with that? I don't get that.
So why do they say they're doing it, or why are they actually doing it?
Yeah, why are they actually doing it? Because you know, yeah, you're right. Like,
Why they're actually doing it, and again, full disclosure, this is my opinion, which is also happens to be a fact in this case. The lobby groups, so ACTRA, SOCAN, the Writers Guild, all of these groups that have been dependent on infrastructure income, so money through the CMF to roll into their organizations. That well is starting to dry up because nobody's watching their stuff anymore. And it bothers them and they want a cut of the pie. And because their business is shrinking, they want YouTube, Netflix, Prime, TikTok, Snapchat to pay for it.
Wow.
And they want none of that money to go to you, who uses the platform. And they also want to have their approved content be promoted ahead of your content because you're not approved Canadian content.
Wow.
That's exactly what it is and what they're trying to do. And this bill made it to the Senate. If they didn't call an election, it probably would have been passed. But now we're going to go back to the drawing board, but it is going to be fast tracked.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, I'm so thankful to have like guys, like people like you guys to really like keep in track, because us creators, we're just there to create, but we're not really in tune with like the bills and stuff like that. So I'm always happy to see things like this happen. And it's insane. It's crazy what they're trying to pull.
Well, that's I wrote a blog on our 365.bufferfestival.com site about it, about the actual impacts on Canadian creators, and I'll get it over to Serhi to send out to everybody. And that was really the blog that launched 1,000 ships. The opposition government called us in to they wouldn't hear us as a witness. So what they did, just backtracking one more time, is they tabled the bill, and the bill did not include any user-generated content or platforms. So I was like, okay, I don't care if Netflix pays more. I actually don't. Go ahead. But then at the very late stages of passing the bill, they removed two clauses, 4.1 and 2.2, which said that all user-generated content on any platform now falls under the scope of this bill.
That's massive. That's crazy.
Yeah. Wow. And so after that, they're like, oh, we already heard from witnesses. We don't want to hear from any more witnesses. And everybody kind of raised their hand and went, but the entire bill just changed. What do you mean? So the opposition government actually read my blog into the record, and we had a bunch of other creators stand up and were read into the record. So I think they're willing to hear from us now because we made a big enough stink that their bill didn't get passed because of us, because we made them take long.
That's awesome. I appreciate it. You guys are like the soldiers, the warriors, front line.
We're trying. We don't want to be there. I would prefer the government just get out of the way and let everybody be successful. I always say the most exported and most watched Canadian content on the planet is on YouTube, and it's not close. So why are we?
And it's not run by government.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and government had no say in that. It just happened organically because our creators are talented, and it doesn't. There's nothing. It doesn't need to be a documentary about a prairie or the backup ballet dancer in Winnipeg. We can create content on par with the rest of the world. And they still don't think so. And they still think we need their help to do it. And all I want them to do is just get out of the way. Let us continue to do it. We're already doing it. We don't need your help. Thank you.
And actually, at some point, we are promoting Canadian culture to the world, which is, I think, more beneficial than being in like a cocoon and being like within just the country.
100%. Ask any Canadian creator how much they care about their Canadian audience. And I don't mean that to be trite. Of course you care about them. You want Canadians to watch your content. They're the hometown. But, even if they didn't want to publicly say it, if you ask any creator, you have to get rid of one of your audience, the Canadians or the Americans. What are you going to do?
Yeah, you're probably going to get rid of the Canadians.
Tough question.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just it's a scale thing, right? It's just a population thing.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. No, I get that. It's definitely scary though. And you're saying that they haven't passed, but they're still trying to get votes on the bill, though, right? They haven't passed it yet.
Yeah. So the government has said that they're going to bring the bill back within the first 100 days of their government.
Okay. So anytime soon, right?
Very soon.
Wow.
Very soon. We're having the fight again, but this time they've given us a chance to get voices in, which is going to be a problem for them.
Yeah. Okay. That's awesome. All right. Well, that's all.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you all you guys. being here. Do you want to say something else?
Oh no, thank you. So I just want to say thank you guys for literally like helping us with all this. This is crazy. I mean,
yeah, too bad that you missed the most important part, the first one. But we're gonna send you the recordings.
Awesome.
You'll hear.
Yeah,
you will hear it. And I want to say big thank you to you, Scott, for taking time and talking about this. I know that you're passionate about that, and that's really good. Really great what you do right now. And I want to say, guys, that you probably will receive a follow-up email from us with some questions about the meetup. One sec, I will present my contact information for you.
And I'm going to reach out to you guys as well, but Sarah, you feel free to share my email address as well.
Okay, great. We will do in the follow-up email as well. And I want to say again, thank you for you guys being here with us, and want to wish you happy and safe Thanksgiving. And we'll see you guys next time.
Bye, everybody.
Awesome.
Thanks so
Thank you so much. Take care.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.